Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Bat Community Call for Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024. Hope you all are doing well. Good to see a nice turnout. We have some special guests this week, too. This week, we're going to have Ralph from our research team and give a little rundown of Boomerang, which I know that everybody here is like super interested to hear more about. Um, and then we'll have a typical run through the deck from Jenny and folks, and then clean up on Q&A. Hope everybody's been having a solid week. And on the news front, I think we've got a bunch of things going on that you guys can check out on Twitter. But without further ado, too, I think Rao, thanks for joining. How are you doing, man? Like, thanks for joining the community call today. Like, maybe give folks a little bit of background, like what your role is at Brave, and then how you kind of found Brave. Rao, thanks for joining. How are you doing? Stuff. That sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. Hey guys.
Howdy.
I joined Brave about like a year and a few months ago. Yeah, I have a PhD in information security and was working in the information security industry for about 7 to 8 years now. Working in a few startups, working in a few bigger companies, previously working at ProtonMail as well, doing the stuff for iOS programming for their mail clients. And yeah, since a year, I'm working for Brave, improving like the privacy systems there, and also doing some research into blockchain stuff. And yeah, about 6 months to 7 months ago, I was like introduced to what was previously called Themis, which is basically the way of replacing the current ecosystem and the protocol that we are using for Brave rewards. So the previous protocol that we are currently using is called Privacy Pass. And yeah, in general, like the idea is that yeah, users can opt into to advertisements for Brave, and they are kind of rewarded for looking at the advertisements in a privacy preserving way. And how it's currently done with Privacy Pass is users get like some confirmation tokens in the beginning, and whenever they click on ads or interact with ads, these confirmation tokens are exchanged to payment tokens, and later on they can give these payment tokens back to Brave, and they will get some basic attention tokens for that. But the big problem here is that users have to trust Brave to do this calculation of the payment tokens in a correct way. And also advertisers have to trust that we do this, we have as Brave correctly estimate how many tokens are calculated and how many advertisements users are clicked on. And we were thinking about how to do that in a way that it's also trustless, so that people don't have to trust that Brave is doing it in a correct way, and they can still verify that everything is correct. And we came up with this solution, or like previous researchers came up with this solution called Themis, and we just like improved it because it has been a few years since it was proposed. And yeah, the new protocol called Boomerang was born with that, and it basically uses a few nice cryptographic primitives to add like trust and verifiability to these ad calculations. And the like the cryptographic primitives behind are something called like black box accumulators, which in a nutshell basically a data structure where you can efficiently add elements and prove membership of elements in this set. This is basically yeah, the interactions with the advertisements, and then we use zero knowledge proofs to basically prove that the reward calculation that then the clients do on their devices is done correctly. So that's basically like the big thing around it. And to add verifiability, we also like verify these proofs in a smart contract, and then the parts are then paid directly to users using the smart contracts. So this is the big goal around it. And yeah, happy to answer some questions if there's some more detailed questions about it.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, like, kind of a key takeaway here is this kind of decentralizes the computation, right? Like, and verification of the ad system. Is this open source too, so other projects can take advantage of it?
Yeah, so we plan to open source it. At least some parts. Obviously, like we also have like some contributions to anti-fraud there. So most probably like those parts won't be open sourced. But like the general, so we at the moment we have on a proof of concept stage. We published our research paper on a preprint server so far. And we are planning to submit it to a conference. And yeah, our source code will be open source soonish. So I'm currently working on that. But that will also be open source.
And there was a link to the academic paper that you and Ahmed and the rest of the team kind of published. And I think one thing that jumped out to me was like the basic privacy principles on those are pretty strong. Like, how, in your opinion, is what we're doing with Boomerang like stand up to other types of zero knowledge like methodologies that are out there? Is that, do we have a pretty strict standard on this stuff, or how do you think it compares to other options that are in the market?
Yeah, in general, so we use like state-of-the-art crypto stuff, stuff that is currently like researched on. So for the zero knowledge proofs, we basically took not like the most recent stuff, but the stuff that is like fitting the problem very nicely. And that's what we're using is like bullet proofs. They are a little bit older, but still, I think they are the perfect tool for this kind of stuff, because we kind of compute like some inner product stuff, and the bulletproofs are perfectly fitting for this kind of setting. I think one other thing is we're also relying a lot on elliptic curve cryptography there, and we really have to look into what is also available like from an implementation standpoint. So yeah, definitely we use like state-of-the-art cryptography, and I think it's something that also is currently used in a lot of zero knowledge projects.
Awesome. I'll open it up to the floor for folks who might have some other questions about Boomerang. Let's keep them specific to Boomerang for now. We'll do miscellaneous questions after. Anybody have any questions for Ralph? C-Ray.
Yeah, I guess I know where I've barely been following on this, but Boomerang is something that already has existed, or is this something that Brave has created? What is it that we're saying?
So basically, Brave uses like a way of like in a privacy preserving perspective, doing like this this advertisement stuff, and in kind of a sense, it's an incentive system. So kind of like rewarding users for like interacting with rewards. And previously we were using like Privacy Pass. And we came up with a more decentralized version, which was called Themis. So this is some work that is going back like 2-3 years in time. And Boomerang is just like a new reiteration of the whole thing. So Themis has never been like implemented into production. And with Boomerang, we want to go this like further step to actually like replace the Privacy Pass protocol and like generating this like decentralized way and this trustless way, so that users actually can verify that everything is working correctly and they don't have to trust Brave to do these computations correctly. So it's kind of adding an additional property of adding to privacy preserving advertisements, also like this trustless way.
Right, understood. I guess I was saying this isn't implemented anywhere else, right? This is going to be like a first where it started with Brave once we get it implemented.
Is that correct, Ralph?
Yes, exactly. It's correct. Yes.
Awesome. And I saw you guys also like one of the things that jumped out that was super cool in that academic paper, like which you have to kind of look for it at the bottom of the blog post that we put out about Boomerang, but it's definitely worth a look at by folks on this call. Like there were two things that really jumped out at me that were pretty cool. Like one, you guys actually did some benchmarking on cost and performance with Boomerang that showed like I think you guys used Solana for the benchmark and 20 something million users. It was like super affordable and almost like cost competitive with Web2 landscape. And then the other bit that was super interesting is I think you guys include like 4 or so different use cases where for Boomerang, and I could easily see BAT being kind of incorporated at the end of those as well, like for those things. Like given folks are obviously going to have I mean, this is a crypto kind of or in a community, and everybody asks when for everything. But I think like is there, when you guys look at releasing things like Boomerang, is there typically like kind of like I mean, open source things can randomly happen too, but like is there like a typical duration that these things live in production and kind of prove themselves out, or how do you guys think about that step from going from academic paper to like bringing this to market?
Yeah, I think like in general, like in the research team, we have like lots of ideas. Not all of them turning out to be like nice in production. Obviously, we also think one of the perspectives at Brave that we are having is we also always think about, is that something that can be implemented? What are the financial costs of implementing that? And is it like something affordable also from like an implementer's perspective? Can it run for like millions of users? Because that's the big thing that we're having here at Brave. We have like millions of daily active users, so we can't like build something that runs like for minutes. We have to build something that runs very, very fast, and that runs like, also if you think about doing stuff in the back end, we have to parallelize that stuff. So it has to be very fast and it has to be very cheap, because otherwise like the company can't afford it. So this is some of the like constraints that we are having. In general, we have like a lot of research ideas, and we can't implement all of them, mainly because we also don't have the manpower yet to like implement all of these great ideas. But in general, like a few things are standing out, and I think Boomerang is catching also quite a lot of interest within the company, but also like from the community. And yeah, we definitely plan to. So we are in discussions yet with product and also with engineering to get this into product soonish. Nevertheless, it's a lot of work to like implement it as a whole. Mainly because it touches a lot of points within like the current system, and yeah, I guess it will take some time to implement that. But we are definitely looking forward to do that.
Awesome, thank you. I think Bows has a question. Bows, go ahead, bud.
Hey, so yeah, I think a lot of us are really excited about Boomerang. I was curious because I know it's kind of been implied, at least in some channels, that Brave's pretty open to letting other people use like kind of some of the tech related to Boomerang in general. Has there been any outside interest in like trying to implement Boomerang into other products beyond Brave and its advertising ecosystem?
So definitely, like in general, like from the research paper, we proposed it as incentive system, mainly with like the thing in the back that that we want to use it like for advertisements. But there are different use cases. In general, like it's a way of rewarding users for interacting with incentives. There's a lot of different use cases that we also proposed in our research paper. Yeah, definitely there are other ways of using that. And once we have like some implementations, we also plan to open source at least the research part and at least the proof of concept. So I think it can be also taken over by other projects.
Cool. Great. Any other questions for Ralph? Anybody? What are the next steps? I think for you guys with Boomerang. Are you guys working on working with the rewards team on planning for this implementation?
So we currently have a proof of concept for parts of the protocol. We are kind of finishing up like the specifications for the paper so that we can submit it to a conference. So this is the immediate next steps. Then we are currently in discussions with product and engineering what needs to be done to take this actually into production. So this is like I guess like the steps for the next few weeks and months. But as soon as we have that, I guess it's just like, do we implement that whole protocol on top of Privacy Pass? Do we completely replace it? And we also want to make it like in a kind of drop-in way of replacing it. So I think for a certain time we might have like both. But then we like eventually like switch over. But yeah, we still need some discussions with engineering and with product into how we will want to integrate this.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I think too, like there's a bunch of work happening in parallel on the rewards, getting the reward settlement on chain options tested and in production, and things that like the news recently about getting creators on chain addresses accepted, and all these things that kind of have to get into place as well, that are happening in parallel. So it makes a lot of sense. I'll put it out there again, like anybody that has questions, and if not, we can have Jenny carry updates. But I'll put this out there for a couple minutes, and in case anyone wants to raise a hand up. All right, thanks, Ralph. I think we can have Jenny run through, and if any questions come to mind, we can bubble them up after Jenny does a community update. If that sounds good.
Yeah, I actually do have one question for Ralph, though, if you have a couple.
Yeah, of course. That's why it's here.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, like, what are some of the main benefits, or what is the main purpose of submitting, the research here that you've done on Boomerang to, I think you mentioned a journal or a conference? Is it mainly for like the peer review aspect, or for like peer review, peer feedback, or like are there other reasons?
Yeah, so there are several reasons. So one of them is definitely to get like other people to have a look at it. Maybe they find some like problems with it. Maybe they find like some other use cases with it. But in general, like that's the research, the academic way of doing stuff. So we submit our works to conferences, to journals, so that other people can have a look at it. But like the other aspect is also like this stuff is usually like published then somewhere, and it gets a broader interest for people. So not all research works are always good, but usually like the stuff that is like published in conferences, it has some kind of quality, and it basically gives also us the feedback of what can be implemented, what has to be changed, what has to be like improved. So these are the main aspects, I guess.
And really quick, we got one more question from Bows too, but before that, like I just want to kind of put it out there too. Like, is there anything the community could do, like, to help the research team? I never really asked the research team this question, so I thought I would put it out there while we're in this forum. And I would also say, like, if nothing comes to mind now, like you got a whole group of folks here that are super interested in seeing Bat and Brave do well. And so if there's anything that we can help with, like with the research effort, whether that's getting the word out or participating in any types of feedback sessions or studies, I'm sure that folks here would definitely be interested in that. But if anything doesn't come to mind now, great. But if that does come to mind, feel free to share it so people can help.
Yeah, no, definitely no. I guess like the research community could, like the BAT community can just like take the word out so that like we are implementing Boomerang, we are doing that stuff, like spread it all over. So I guess if more people see it, more people will think about it, and more people might have some like critical questions about it. And the other thing is just ask questions. On like social media platforms, also contact us. I'm not sure if we have like a research email address, but otherwise, I guess my name is easy to find, combined with Brave. And otherwise, like just use the usual channels to ask questions also on Reddit. We try to answer the questions, and some of the questions actually make us think harder, and like we can find some improvements if necessary.
Cool. Awesome.
Hey, Ralph, do you, oh, sorry, Luke.
No, go ahead.
Ralph, thank you for answering my question earlier. And also, do you have like a Twitter account or a Reddit account that you use for work? Because we can certainly field questions through the usual channels and bring them to you through Slack. But it'd be good to know if we can like, sub you in if you are on any of those platforms. And if not, it's fine, but just curious.
I do have a Twitter account, but I haven't used it in a long time.
That's all right.
You can try to reach out there. I check it occasionally.
Okay, cool. We can funnel questions to you through Slack in the meantime. And if we notice that there are a ton, we might try to pull you into our Discord or something. But
Sure.
yeah, and just to echo what Luke was saying, the community, especially the group here, as well as our BAT ambassador volunteers, is such an incredible resource at the research team's disposal for anything that you may need, testing, feedback. Please do let us know, because everybody here, I think, would be willing to help test things, provide feedback, and also help spread the word, of course. So yeah.
Cool. And I see Bows has a hand up, so let her rip, Bows. Don't go away.
Yeah, so I was looking at some of the comments in chat, and also with Jeannie's question about like why have stuff published and why stuff have out there. I think with a lot of this stuff, it comes down to there's a lot of people who are very technical, especially when it comes to like privacy related matters. So by throwing it out there and putting it in literature and opening up to peer review and feedback and scrutiny, it kind of provides a lot of the answers to a lot of those questions that Brave frequently gets, especially among the privacy community and people who write and do a lot of stuff professionally privacy related. It helps add legitimacy to Brave's privacy claims and kind of makes it easier to vouch for them when stuff can be peer reviewed by experts and stuff like that. And it kind of also helps with refinement. But I think for and then that's the other reason I kind of bring that up is because a lot of people are mentioning stuff like, hey, this is really technical and over my head, potentially, but it's not necessarily as much always for people who don't want to get like into the weeds on it. It's kind of, even for those people, they get value out of it indirectly because it opens it up again for all that extra scrutiny. And then you can have other people who are independent bodies go back behind and basically give their opinions, which can help, give better certainty to the less technical people who may have interest in this stuff. So I just thought I would mention that because I think that also helps answer some of the questions I saw in the chat.
I think it is a great point. And I think the other thing we could probably do, because we've got like a pretty good relationship with the research team too, is like we could probably go through that academic paper and like break it out, because there are pretty clear sections that are, you know, the context is pretty clear on some of them, but like we could even like bite size down, like you know, section is this and takeaway is that, and like get stuff to where we could make, you know, social so infographics and things like that that help make it more digestible for non-technical people in the community to get the word about. Because this is kind of a problem we've encountered here at Brave. Like, you know, you're seeing a lot around zero knowledge systems and methodology and stuff like that. Like, what people don't really know necessarily or realize is that like we've been using like zero knowledge reporting methodology since like, you know, the very first iteration of Brave payments back in the day in like 2016. Is just like one of those things where, you know, you're super early before people really got what they were, and now you're starting to see these things happen everywhere. So I think like one thing what community could probably do is like we could go chew through that document, like, and have a clear takeaway like on the different sections, and then like especially things like there's the use cases provided and like the benchmarking and stuff like that, where it is pretty clear takeaways that we could help illustrate by infographics and through other types of media that like get the word out, probably and then have the research team, of course, like proof of on it and double check that we're not like butchering any of their hard work in the process of trying to get, you know, that bite-sized stuff out. But I think that's one area we could probably do. I saw another question in chat too that was a pretty interesting one. I think you know, the academic paper used Solana as an example for the benchmarks, but is Boomerang compatible like with other networks too? Like how, or is it just a Solana thing? Like what is it the thinking around that from the research team?
Yeah, so maybe just like from the previous question, yeah, we definitely like our research paper was like targeted for the research community, so maybe that's why it's very difficultly written. But yeah, our plan was to like release another blog post going into a little bit more details about Boomerang. At the moment, the blog post was quite short. But we can definitely make it, write it in simpler terms, so that like the community better understands what the privacy aspects are, and what the like the individual kind of building blocks are used for, and why we use them. So in like for the question about what blockchain to use, there are definitely different blockchains we could use. Like one of the things why we wanted to use like Solana was because they have like a way of like parallelizing like the smart contracts. So this is like one of the like big points of running Solana smart contracts. But yeah, there are other smart contracts that we could use. It's not necessarily like Solana that we have to use, but they are a big project. And at the moment, we also collaborate with them in other works. So this is why we currently use them, but could be other blockchains as well.
And just for folks like that might not know what parallelization is, it's kind of when you think about it from back like through computer tech, you know, like you back in the day, you had like a single core processor where, you know, multitasking was hard to do. And then you started having quad core processors and things that made it so that you could run multiple apps at the same time, doing different things and distributing the load. And it's kind of how Solana approaches it, right? Like, is that kind of a fair doing, where you can if you you don't get congestion just in one area, like that clogs up the whole chain? Is that basically a layman's kind of explanation that of it, or do you have any ways to elaborate on that, Ralph?
Yeah, no, I think that was nicely explained. So like there's always like the one bottleneck if you run like stuff on a computer. You can like parallelize in software quite a lot, but then still like your CPU just has like a certain amount of cores. So you kind of have to like delay it back again. And because we have like millions of users that want to like run their reward proofs, we also have to think of in a way of how we can like run like more of them at once and not like all of them like after each other. So that's why we also want to have to think of parallelizing them.
Yeah, and I think there are other L1s that are coming out too that also kind of embrace this parallelization concept too. And so it's still pretty early, but I think that the blog post too was written in a way that kind of expresses how we did these on Solana, but like theoretically it could be other chains too, which I think is a good point to get across. Just because there's so much experimentation going on in the space right now, more broadly, but. Cool. I know that Jenny, you want to roll into the community updates?
Sure thing. Yeah, let me set up my screen share. And thank you so much, Ralph, for coming on.
Yeah, Ralph, that was awesome, man. Awesome. And if you want to hang on, people might have questions, or if you have to go, no worries either. But always welcome here.
I stay a little bit longer.
Cool, man.
Bye.
Okay, awesome. So let's take it away here with the community update. You guys can see my screen okay?
Yep.
All right. Okie dokie. So we're going to start with the Bad Ambassadors referral stats update. Oh, that's not right. It should say update, not recap. Sorry, stole that from another presentation. But you are all familiar with our Ambassadors referral campaign. Just going to quickly summarize in case there's anybody new here. But this is a campaign that we've been running with our Bad Ambassadors program volunteers since September, and we are using it to measure our program's impact on Brave browser user growth over time. The campaign remains ongoing and will remain so until we bring new members into the program sometime in Q1, probably February, maybe early March. But anyways, here we go. So these are our numbers to date. Our Bad Ambassadors have driven over 5,000 downloads, 5,356 downloads to be exact. And that number is up 4% since last week. They have 405 collective first opens, which is also up 2.5% since last week. And we've converted a total of 174 new Brave users, and that number is also up 6.7% since last week. And that means that we have reached, or we've achieved 70% of our 6-month campaign goal, and our target for 6 months is 250 conversions. So as you can see, we're well on our way, and the numbers keep going up each week. So let's keep chipping away at it, Bad Ambassadors. I know we can make it. We hit our first target, and I'm highly confident that we can hit the next one. So well done. All right, some recent Bad Ambassador events. So recently, Shidi, our Bad Ambassador from Uganda, held a really cool event that he called Coffee with Brave. And there were 38 local attendees at that event, all crypto enthusiasts. The agenda covered an array of topics. They talked about why choose Brave. They did a Brave wallet tutorial. They covered best practices for securing crypto assets and a ton more. We actually have a Twitter thread dedicated to the meetup and the highlights on Bad Community Twitter. It's pinned in the highlights if you want to check it out. But they also did some really cool interactive workshops at this meetup. They had people scan Shidi's QR code to set up the browser, to download and then set it up. They showed everybody how to, get started with Brave. And then they also showed attendees how to set up the Brave wallet, which is great. And then apparently they also did some other tutorials, like trading and staking tutorials. So also very cool. And then just some other fun little things. They gave away swag that was printed locally, which was awesome. We love supporting local vendors for our Bad Ambassadors who are in, more remote locations, and it's harder to send them merch. Sometimes we have them print merch locally, which they've been really enjoying, we've been enjoying, and again, helps support local small businesses as well. And, avoids us having to pay crazy shipping, import, all that stuff. And apparently Shidi, I don't have the details, but he brought, I don't know if he makes his own coffee, but they did a coffee sampler with coffee that either he made or he brought. And then they also drank some local craft beer at the meetup. So I thought that was a fun little detail. But well done, Shidi. I don't know if he's here today. I don't think so. I tried to scroll through earlier and see, but I didn't see him here today. But he and Stan and Alfred from Kenya and Nigeria also have been doing amazing work in Africa, championing Bat and Brave, growing the community, hosting and attending events. We've been covering it week to week, so you guys are all up to date on the highlights, but here are some more photos from the meetup. Lovely. So there we go. Thank you, Shidi, in case you tune in later or watch the recording. Well done. And I think actually on the note of events, I think Bows might have an event coming up. Is that true, Bows?
I'm meeting with a couple people tomorrow. A few people I haven't met up with before, so I'm looking forward to that. It's just something casual. We're just meeting up for some small dishes and tea. But one of the guys I'm pretty excited to talk to, partially because, one, because I'm just always excited to talk to local people who are interested in the same things as me. But it's also it sounded like he had actually worked on some stuff that had been shown to Brave, I believe, recently, and I'm kind of interested to hear about that. And he's also a part of another blockchain group, so maybe I can reach out and get to know them. So, and then I'm doing some other kind of local crypto Web3 meetups, but they're more like one-on-one type things with some other people who kind of are just involved in the industry in a more professional sense. But so I've kind of got two things going on this week. So,
well, that's exciting. Oh, is that my mic? Are you guys getting that feedback?
Yeah. I think it was. It's good now.
Okay, I think we're good. But yeah, Bows, do let us know how it goes. Let us know if the folks at your meetup tomorrow come up with any questions that we can answer on next week's call. Invite them to next week's call. Why don't you?
We'll do.
And now you have the full scoop on Boomerang, so you can relay some of that too.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited because it's kind of unusual that there would be two different groups of people in 1 week who would be really interested in talking to me. Who also mentioned that they kind of do stuff with have done something professionally that involves Brave that apparently sounds like it might be still ongoing. So I'm kind of interested to hear what that is.
Really? Okay. Well, do share when you figure out what it is. Interesting. Yeah, awesome. That's great work. And you see what happens when you just show up and you network. You get you'd be surprised at how quickly your network can grow, and you get introduced to more people who are in the space or have similar interests or are part of these other crypto, blockchain, Web3 groups, and then it just kind of snowballs. So you're doing really good stuff, and keep it up. Okay, so I guess we'll move on to some Bat community highlights of the week. So our Sage quest with our partner Bandit Network is still ongoing until tomorrow. So you guys already know we covered this the last couple of weeks, but I'm just going to quickly recap. You can head over to bandit.network and participate in the quest if you want the chance to win one of 4 Sage NFTs or some BAT rewards. All you need to do to participate is connect a Web3 wallet, your Brave wallet, or other Web3 wallet. The quest is costless, gasless. You don't need anything in the wallet in order to participate. You don't need to have any of our BAT and Atom Ape NFTs. All you need to do is complete a set of simple tasks like retweet one of our updates, follow Brave, follow Bandit, follow Attention Token on Twitter. You'll see it's very simple. But if you do have feedback on the quest, let us know, because we have a bunch of other quests with Bandit that involve BAT and some other partners in the pipeline. So if you have feedback or something didn't work smoothly, or you just weren't able to complete it for whatever reason, or if you have positive feedback, share that with us too, because we will be doing more of these. And this is just my little screen grab from last week where I show you what the quest looks like on Bandit's platform and how easy it is to connect. But you'll see it's at the top of their page or their homepage on bandit.network. It's right along the top, so you can't miss it. And then actually, while I'm on this, Last week, I think it was Aranyaka asked what anti-spam and bot and fraud detection measures Bandit has in place.
Right.
Yeah, and so I spoke to them, and actually, I had mentioned last week in the chat how all of the quests are, first of all, wallet gated, so you can't, it's not just anyone on the web who can go participate. You need a Web3 wallet, so that's the first thing. Second thing is that many of the quests are also token gated, meaning that they require the participating wallet to be holding a specific NFT or a minimum amount of a particular crypto. So there are some barriers to entry there. And then on the technical side, Bandit also informed me that they enhance fraud detection through a number of advanced encryption and bot prevention mechanisms and user authentication processes to verify user legitimacy. And I won't go into more specific details on their anti-fraud because I feel like that's counterproductive, but I did want to mention that it is something that they take very seriously. So I just wanted to address that since the question came up last week. And then, oh no, I don't know what happened there, but Crypto Dojo, aka Scott from Bad Ambassadors program, who's also one of our program content creators, created this really great video. It's a Brave browser overview. He covers all of its privacy and security benefits, browser performance. He talks about Brave private ads and rewards and earning BAT, other Web3 features. He talks about Leo and a ton more in a 16-minute span. It's a really great video. He's a wonderful presenter, and I'll link it in the chat. It's also pinned on our Twitter highlights. So do check it out. And this is part of a bigger initiative to create more educational content this year. So yeah, this is the first of many such videos that you will see. And I think maybe I didn't publish it yet, but I'm going to put a poll up on our Twitter to ask folks what aspects or features of BAT or Brave they'd like to see Crypto Dojo deep dive into next. So you can answer over there. And please do check out the video. It's really good. And thank you, Scott, for putting it together.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Oh, hang on. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, I'll hand it over to Guillermo now for his update.
Hello, everyone. So basically, I just want to include more infographics, which is a great follow-up for what Luke was saying regarding having things more accessible for people in the community. And not only because sometimes the word's a bit technical, but also things can be missed. So the more infographics we have covering the more broader topics that we are launching, the better it should be for overall understanding and just knowing that these things are coming out, because it's been a problem in the past that sometimes we just didn't know a patch was coming up or an update was coming up or a new feature was coming up. And having infographics helps in a visual way understanding what that is and that it just arrived, which I think is really cool. I'll try to also do something for Boomerang, which I'm very thankful to have Rolf here today, because otherwise I don't think I would be able to fully understand it. So I'll look back on the recording of this screen and I'll try to do something for Boomerang. Next slide. Thank you, Jenny. And this is just basically a follow-up. I don't know if Jenny touched on it. I don't remember if she did, but we want to include more ambassadors, to integrate more ambassadors and open a season 4 ambassadors for next program. Probably Battern will touch on it. So basically just to announce that there will be some graphics and there will be some graphic assistance towards the events that ambassadors do and other things that ambassadors do and projects and things alike. For example, this Friday there will be a watch party hosted by Scott / Watch Dojo for Karate Combat, which is one of our partners. So that's the kind of thing that we can help with. And Karate Combat is really growing up, and I'm really loving and seeing all the combats that they're pushing. They're grabbing a lot of people from MMA, which I really, really appreciate. Plus, they have one of my favorite fighters there, Lyoto Machida. So I'm excited about it. And I'll pass it on to the next person.
All right, we'll hand it off to Battern if he's here.
Hello. Yeah, I'm here. This is what been going on behind the scenes. What we've done, we've had our regular meetings. We've ran the regular events like poker and the General Al. We finally got rid of all our outstanding rewards from Zealy, and I've been reviewing the ambassador directory because I think like it's an underutilized resource. So the one thing I'm doing on it at the moment is what we need to do is get so everyone's F and SOL address is on there, so that when we've got stuff to get out, we can get it out. I need to have it so that like we've got records of who's got merchandise and not, because I think like one thing that everyone needs now is like something to, you know, a bit of merchandise so that they can represent. We're going to review the localization accounts. Because I think they've been neglected for a while, and review groups across platforms. Like I think we need to look back into Facebook and Telegram again, because you know we haven't ever since the hack we haven't really used Telegram, but a lot of crypto people do use it. So even if we just get something like the Bat Brigade one on there up and you know smoothly running and advertised a bit more, like not as an official Telegram, but as an unofficial official one, like we do with the brigade on Discord. And yeah, we've got to pay out we're doubling up on last month's referral rewards, but yeah, we'll do that at the end of the month. And yeah, that's me on that one. So what people have been doing that everyone can see, Dragon Dave has started educating people on liquidity pools on his stream in order to try and get more liquidity on Solana. You know, if people have got, especially now that everyone's got on-chain back coming, it'd be good to get more liquidity there. And Bruno's made a Brazilian localization account, like he said he was going to last week. And we've got Void is going to make him some graphics so that they match everyone else's. But yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Battern. And Drew, I don't think is here today.
I'm here.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, I hopped in a little late. Sorry. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll just kind of go through. We got a lot of this was mentioned already. So the quest for both the Karate Combat, and we'll get an actual announcement out here soon, and then the Bat and Sage quest that's kind of finishing up, I believe, or is finished. We just got to get the winners updated and sent and whatnot. And then, yeah, we reached out to a project that's airdropping tokens, I guess called Love. Maybe worth some, may not be worth anything, but we're going to get that for holders of the NFTs at least, maybe for BAT holders on Solana. We'll see. And then we did the space with Shrapnel last week. We got extraction packs, and I'm not sure where we stand on that, Jenny, but probably got something to send out still. So if you're there and retweet it and whatnot, let us know. We'll get you a pack. And then for this week's space, I didn't get this updated yet, but is a project called Banks, BANX, which is like a NFT lending and borrowing DeFi platform on Solana as well. So that's what we got kind of going on this week. Thanks, Jenny.
Awesome. Thanks, Drew. Yeah, and I'll just tie it up by saying for Shrapnel, so Shrapnel, they're a Web3 based game, PC based Web3 game, I should say, that has not yet launched, but we had a very interesting chat with them on Twitter Spaces last week. And as part of the space, they offered extraction packs to our listeners who retweeted the space announcement. And the extraction pack gets you early access to the game, which I don't think has begun yet. And it also gives you some in-game items that you can use once, testing goes live. So if you were on the space and you helped us out by retweeting the announcement, we will be getting in touch with you through Twitter this week to get you one of those extraction packs. And we will probably be doing more with their community going forward, maybe some like gameplays between the Shrapnel community and the Bat community. And then we're looking at some other, deeper collaborations that involve Bat more directly. So stay tuned. I think that's it for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny and team. Everybody, is a great set of updates. Yeah, we can open back up for questions. If I missed anything in the chat or anybody has any questions, raise a hand. All right, Guillermo.
I have a question regarding the new seldom used setting, the strict setting. on the last Brave software, I'm just reading through this video, that's why it sounds so weird. But basically, it says that it helps protect user privacy by actually removing the strict setting. How does that work?
Yeah, so like I'm gonna give you kind of I mean, we don't have like somebody from the privacy team on, but well, actually, we have Ralph here. He might have a good answer. But I think there's been two things happening. Like and Pete Snyder kind of gave pointed to some of this in the blog post that we did. But one, there's different levels of protection in Brave, right? Based on different types of things people are concerned about. So like the default settings we have, and there's like a privacy comparison from Privacy Tools, I think, or one of those services that's independent that has kind of breaks these out into different sections. But you have things like third-party tracking protection, which is like blocks all of the advertising calls and cookies and things like that. That's one form of user tracking and profiling that happens by companies, right? The other angle that companies will track people from is through browser fingerprinting. And so Brave has pretty strong default browser fingerprinting. What we also did was added in this more strict browser fingerprinting protection, which blocked additional like API types of calls that are used and things like that. Which is it works most of the time, but there are definitely sites and where this strict fingerprinting protection completely blocks important things that are necessary for those sites that will break functionality, right? And there's an important balance that we try to hit in Brave where it's like giving users the strongest privacy by default as possible without breaking the web. And that's what Pete's done in a lot of his work on the privacy side, is to try and introduce better methods of unbreaking the web while giving privacy. And so at this point, like we've had these fingerprinting protections out, and the default fingerprinting protections are great, and it doesn't break the site usage as much. But I think Pete has introduced things like farbling and other techniques that help to protect the default privacy better. And we've also had a lot of feedback, and there are different areas in the browser where you can provide, like if there's a web compatibility issue, we have a place in the shield settings where users can report broken sites and things like that. When users report those go back to the team. The team investigates what the issues are and tries to get to the root cause. And what they started to see is like a mix of feedback from users, applied feedback from other feedback we've gotten through the community around web compat issues, and then also from our P3A questions that the browser uses for our telemetry, where there's just a mix of like the breakage is so rough on these things with the strict that it really like was causing users to churn and other reasons. And also our default privacy protections were getting better and better to where there are other ways to address some of the problems that that the strict setting is applying with the default protection. And so what I should probably do is have Pete or come on and talk about this in a little more detail. But we kind of hit it in the blog post, like a lot of the reasoning why. But you're talking about a small cohort of users, and I think there's been some feedback of like, well, the most the privacy people that want privacy the most aren't going to have P3A enabled, which is true. But there's also like aggregate counts that we have, so you can kind of take a rough average of like, okay, look at these are the amount of responses we get from P3A and compare that against like the usage counts that we get that are aggregated to help us to determine, the size of our user base and kind of get a sense of like, okay, even removing that cohort, we see this. And this is a trade-off when you're building privacy tools, is that you're not getting the luxury of a lot of the precision necessarily that you get with having tracking software in your, bundled in your software. That said, I think like, the team has brought some really novel methods of like privacy preserving analytics that helped us to steer the product. And ultimately what you're trying to do is figure out like, okay, is there enough of a volume of feedback and data here that we can make an informed decision on, and also like what can we do to try and like address those strict issues to get even better defaults, because that's the win, right? Users, as much as people want to have every knob, like the vast majority of users do not go that deep into the settings. And the more that we can make those stricter settings, or the takeaway from those stricter settings, right? Because like, what's the point of having the strict setting? Well, these 3-5 things or whatever are collecting information that help to profile a user. Well, okay, well, what's another way we could approach this to limit that, to mitigate that risk without having to, block something that's actually becoming useful? Because that's the other piece here. That's these APIs, when they get released in standardized, right? When they're first released, they're not really broadly adopted. But over time, as the web gets more sophisticated, a lot of these APIs that we might have blocked more aggressively for a totally legitimate privacy concern are actually become table stakes in things that are used by everyday users. And so like it requires us to tweak the approach and find a different way to get that same kind of privacy protection without completely breaking a useful thing that is going to send that person back to Chrome or back to whatever browser they're on. So there's a balance there, right? And I think that, the team is making decisions based off of observable insight we're getting from direct feedback from users submitted feedback through the product, and also from what we can observe from P3A, which isn't the 100% precision, but is a big enough of a directional count for us to make some informed decisions on these things. So I hope that helps. But I think that like it's not that like I think the fingerprinting protection is kind of a tricky thing, because things like system fonts and other stuff that is necessary, like or other types of things that are combined together can profile, and it's a way that like can really break functionality or make it look like, oh, that beautiful web page now just looks like a bunch of text on the screen when I have all these things on. And you're kind of getting to that level of protection with those stricter settings that realistically very, very few people are going to actually use, because they want the web to look like the web, right? So I hope that helps. If there's any follow-up to that, happy to kind of address that too. Or if anybody else from the team has any other thoughts on that, I think feel free to jump in.
Yeah, the fonts is something that I did notice, as it would just reset everything to Poppins. But yeah, just to double check and to fully see if I could understand this, because I see some people pop online with this exact same question. Basically, what we did was just eliminate one tool that was actually causing more breakage on the browser and actually invest more on the default privacy of the browser.
Exactly. And I think if you look, and I had some tweets where I included these privacy comparisons, but other people have tweeted about them too. If you look at these sections on fingerprinting, where the default protections are, like even without the strict fingerprinting protection, I think we're top 3 of protections of like green checks on that, where like there's, I think, Brave, Molvad, and LibreWolf are the 3 top browsers with really good default fingerprinting protection. And I think that, the team's working constantly, right? Like, I think that's the thing people don't necessarily see so much, is that, our security and privacy team, like they come and check back with us every, at least once a quarter on like, hey, I see that we're not using X, Y, and Z things. Like, can we just kind of remove any exceptions that make Brave stand out, or anything that can, they're always wanting to kind of fine tune and make things more private, which is the reason why we're all here. Like, I think that, the one thing that I've seen us do really well over time is something that, is the opposite of what people tend to get concerned about, because as companies tend to go from like really small startups to bigger ones, people just kind of assume, hey, you might lose some of your principles, like because of money or whatever. And one thing I can say with extreme confidence is that like Brave has been the exception in that case, in that we if anything, have gotten more rigid with how we're protecting privacy over time, or we're doing things like what Pete's talking about, where they're finding better ways of making better privacy that scales versus breaking the web, because breaking the web is the old options. Just to give people a sense of like what the old options were. The old options were if people would go to a site and something functional would break, they would send a note to the list maintainers and saying, hey, like this ad blocking rule is causing this service to break on this website. And the path that they would do is they would just remove that filter so that the user was getting tracked by that thing. And so what companies started to do was they started to like tie functional requests together with tracking requests, which meant that like it was kind of like a hack against the filter list. And what folks like Pete have done is like create a different method with farbling and some of these other techniques that allow us to like still have functionality while still fuzzing out or making it so that things are not identifiable to a single user that is browsing the web. So this is all like progress, right? Like, and if we can give the best privacy by default that can scale to millions and millions of users, that's saying a bigger statement about that kind of dispels the myth that people don't care about their privacy, because we are proving that thesis wrong in our growth every day, right? So anyway, I hope that helps.
It did. Thank you, Fran.
Yeah, and with that, I think we'll wrap it up for this week. Thank you, Ralph, for coming. Really appreciate the Boomerang overview and you giving your time here today and making yourselves available for the community. And as we get questions, we'll definitely surface that up. We will be back at the same bat time and same bat channel next week. I'll be doing a call from New York. So hope you all have a good week and see you all online. Thanks, everybody.